Dirk, very good morning to you. I mean, it seems that we've been getting to this point for a very long time. Have we got to the point where the ANC really is going to effectively tackle corruption?
Well, I think we are going to see that only after the 30 days that many persons have now been given. As you indicate, this is actually the second NEC meeting where they have come to a point where they said they have agreed on it. We saw now last time, but after the last meeting, that it took another very long meeting in order to reach this point. What we have at the moment is what President Ramaphosa has said last night. And I think this is one very important component of the meeting, but we haven't heard much yet from the other side in terms of to what extent they accept this and they are going to implement it. So the practice is going to determine for us whether indeed there's going to be, that they've reached the point of convergence and that they have more or less accepted that this is not the ANC's position. I think there's still a lot is going to happen. But in terms of decision-making by the NEC, they possibly have reached the end of that road.
We said it'll be quite interesting to hear what Pule Mabe has to say or doesn't say, which will signal what sort of conviction there really is in getting somebody like Ace Magashule to step aside. I mean, it's quite intriguing or alarming that he's given 30 days and the excuses or the justification is that he can speak to other leaders. And I'm just wondering who that is, hopefully not Jacob Zuma.
Well, that's most possibly is going to be him. There's very few other persons, I think, who in public at least is supporting him in this or is going to give him some advice in terms of how to deal with this or how to get out of this situation. I think those senior persons, senior leaders of the ANC, either in the Integrity Commission or the veterans who've spoken out, or those who are involved in Save Our Democracy campaign, are all not necessarily on his side or supporting the same ideas as his. So I think there's very few persons that will be available for him to talk about. There will be some who will say, please go back to the NEC and to comply with this decision, because it's actually not a decision by the NEC. It's a decision that was taken in 2017 already by the ANC's National Conference. What we've seen lately is more about how to implement it. And I think that is where the real differences of opinion developed.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to be hopeful that these decisions will be implemented, and maybe that's why Cyril Ramaphosa called for the support of the judiciary, that attacks on it need to stop.
Yes, that was a very important point, and I think many people were looking for this statement from President Ramaphosa's side and the senior leadership of the ANC, because lately, last week, we had the statement of 8 pages by President Zuma, which was a frontal attack on the judiciary. He even referred to it as the emergence of a judicial dictatorship. Now, that is the strongest words possible that you can have against the South African judiciary and sort of trying to undermine their credibility or legitimacy. So it was high time for the ANC leadership to come up very clearly about where they stand with respect to the rule of law, with the respect for the judiciary in general, and especially for the Constitutional Court.
And behaviour, I guess, of Dali Mpofu and people like that saying, his appalling behaviour there. He also called for no factions, that the RET needs to be broken up, that you can no longer be a member of the ANC and the RET. How significant was that? What do we see coming out of that?
Well, that is very significant because what he's doing is closing down any space for any type of alternative formations within the ANC. We've seen it the way in which the idea of a so-called radical economic transformation movement was launched primarily by Carl Niehaus and others. Then he started to backtrack on that. And I think with this meeting, both in the case of the RET faction or movement or group, as well as the MK Military Veterans Association, I think what is the decision or the way in which President Ramaphosa presented it is to say there's only one ANC. we can't have these different sort of subgroupings within the ANC, because it is just can become a growth point for alternative views, for alternative sort of the trends within the ANC, which from a point of view of having one unified organization is just completely untenable.
Okay, let me ask you this very quickly, if you will. I mean, can this action by Cyril Ramaphosa, can it break the ANC? I mean, clearly it's broken at the moment, but can it collapse the ANC?
I don't think so. If we look at events in the past, for example, the formation of COPE or the formation of the EFF, it is normally when someone was either expelled from the ANC, or in the case of President Mbeki, where he was forced to vacate his seat. We haven't reached that type of point yet. So I think with these decisions, it is closing the gaps that emerged over time, but not yet pushing them away in the form of a splitting away or even a division within the ANC. So I don't see that for the immediate future.